nice until
Yes.
everything else would just seem like chopped liver. I'd like to thank you, my sisters and brothers, for listening to the ramblings of this servant of the Rasul. I'm just his tool. I'm just his servant. I'm humbled by him.
Alhamdulillah.
Peace be with you, old prophet. Sim Leoli Mihiru Amin. I would like to start my lesson this morning with an oath that I swore by when I took the office of Cheikh under the adept Sheikh Wabra Samadi. I swore an oath. I hope to uphold that oath in my doings, in my goings about. This lesson is entitled The Oath. In the name of the Most High God, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I speak the oath. Our magician, with this in mind, will most probably leave thunderstorms to stew in their own juice. But should he decide, after all, to enliven the afternoon, he will work in this manner following. He must see that the forces not leak away to earth quietly and shyly. He must arrange a stress so severe as to become at last so intolerable that it will destruct explosively. Now he, as a man, cannot pray to God to cause them, for the gods are but the names of the forces of nature themselves. But as a mystic, he knows that all things are phantoms in one thing, and that they be withdrawn therein to reissue in other attire. He knows that all things are in himself, and that he is all one with the all. There is therefore no theoretical difficulty about converting the illusions of a clear sky into that of a tempest. On the other hand, he is aware that illusions are governed by the laws of their nature. A man may learn to use any force so as to serve one purpose. By taking advantage of all the above therein, he may attract to himself any force of the universe by making himself a fit receptacle for it, establishing a connection with it, and arranging conditions so that its nature compels it to flow towards him. Man's sense of himself as separate from and opposed to the universe is a bar to him conducting its current. It insulates him. A popular leader is most successful when he forgets himself and remembers only the cause. Self-seeking engenders jealousy and schizoisms. When the organs of their body assert their presence otherwise than by silent satisfaction, it is a sign that they are deceived. The single exception is the organ of reproduction. Yet, even in this case, its self-assertion bears witness to its dissatisfaction with itself, since it cannot fulfill its function until completed by its counterpart in another, what? Organism. Man can only attract and employ the forces for which he is really fitted. You cannot make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, or hint from a fool to the wise. Formulated by a deaf minister, I've taken a stand in a position, and some of you may have wondered why I took this position, why I chose to take the position of I won't believe anything these people say to me. Why? I've given them 500 years or more to clean up their mess. And it seems like they are continuing to do the same things. They are continuing to buy time. So I made a case by saying it has to start somewhere. And it starts right here with me saying, I will not believe anything these people say. Because, as I said again, they misled us. They have misled us for years. A lot of the things they told us that was right, in reality, they are wrong. As a people, they are wrong as far as we are concerned, because the only thing that is good about them is it gives pressure or it gives credence to them and takes away everything from you. So I chose to go by saying there is nothing new under the sun. There is nothing new under the sun, which means whatever he brings forth, his inventions, his telephones, his tape recorders, his, you name it, all of his modern day appliances, they have to have an origin. Where do they come from? Where is the idea coming from? This is what I'm trying to instill in you, sisters and brothers. That once you have the ability to understand where these things come from, the origin of them, then you are not so fascinated by them that you may be misled by what you see. I see the brother coming. Therefore, the first part of my lesson is entitled The History of the Hamites. We are the ones that started this whole thing. Everything proceeded from us. And it's kind of hard to imagine that this modern day telephone originated from us. How did some of the things that we did as primitive man, which simply means simple living man, evolve into a telephone that is being used today? Let's start at the source, the history of the Hamites. The Hamites of today are called Egyptians, Ethiopians, Sudanese, Ganges, Negroes, and etc. There was a crude development of lightning apparatus among the ancient Hamites, our ancestors. They used a burning stick for a temporary light, the pine knot. And as a result, we have lights today. We take for granted the lights that we have today. But it started from that simple thing. What? That burning stick. A burning stick, a temporary light. This is where it came from. Can other people make that distinction? They haven't up to now. They will now, after it's been said. But it's only after the fact. Next was invented an oil lamp by the tallow dip, in which they used animal vegetable oils. This invention was brought into existence by who? Ori, the genius of light, dispelled the gloom from everywhere. Within the memories of a people now living from Ori's invention of light, the use of sperm oil was introduced. Then came coal oil, the gas light. Then after that, electric light, and later on, radium. Behind Ori's invention, one of our ancestors, behind Ori's invention, the ancients felt keenly the need of some law which would protect the inventors of an idea in the first profit of its use. They knew then that everything was going to evolve from them, and they knew, like today, people were going to come along and forget who invented the idea and take on the responsibilities of who brought it forth. As a result, we find the Watts, and we find the Edisons and the Fouards, people who came later on down the line, who copied these early inventions and copied them and took credit for them. The modern patent rights does this imperfectly, as Edison well knows, yet the stimulus into inventions caused by the copyright and patent laws was so marked as to be self-evident. Owing to the absence of such laws, the ancients were compelled to resort to what? Secrecy. This encouraged fraud. For a thing to be secret was to become sacred. An Egyptian astronomer was a revealer of the secrets of the heavens. A geologist was called the revealer of the secrets of the country, or the secrets of the depths. Theologians were called revealers of the secret word, or the sacred language. This idea comes down to people of this day. Our doctors write their prescriptions in Latin. The druggist makes his bottles in Latin and in hieroglyphics of some kind. The lawyer coaches his pleadings in antiquated phrases, and the scientist buries his facts. How in jaw-breaking words. You hear it done on the news all the time. You hear it done in courts. There's a certain procedure you have to use in order to approach the judge. If you don't use that procedure, then you're out of order. As early as 2000 BC, history of our ancestors, the Kemites had learned to bore artesian wells, and these appeared in the use at Thebes. They also know how to tan leather. The first name of the land was Chem, then later the land of Ham, or Hamites. What happened to that name? That name has been pushed to the side. And as a result, we've accepted this other name, Africa. Where did that come from? Where did the name Africa come from? It came from a Roman conqueror, someone other than ourselves. But we swear by, oh, we're Africans. Brothers and sisters, we're not Africans. We're not Africans any more than we are Negroes. The first name of the land, as I said, was called Chem. Then later the land of Ham, or Hamites. The first or the last great invention made by them is that of the steam engine. the steam engine, improvements on your original idea. In 1763, James Watts was called on to what? Repair one of these steam engines and made improvements. He made improvements. He didn't invent it. He made improvements of it. There are many ideas of the Hamites of old that have been lost. It is our job. It is our job, students of Bahami Islam, to teach back to people what they have forgotten. This whole movement is based around trying to re-educate our people to those things that they have forgotten completely all about. Your ancestors used amber and eventually experimented with electricity. They invented the first telegraph and sent messages. Your telephone. This has something to do with your telephone. You see the power of you. You see what you have done. You see what other people have done to take away that idea. And as a result of that, we are what? Masters who are servants. Masters who are servants. The European word electricity is from the Greek word for what? Amber. Noon invented the magnetic needle, not China. Everywhere lights are seen, engines moving along highways, doors opening, trains pulling loads, and etc. Remember, this is Ori's dispelling the gloom from everywhere. Bear with me, my gods and goddesses. Let's go into the Bahami Gospel, the book that explains everything. Why? Explanation is just like a light in a darkened room. When one thing is explained, you can see that particular thing. So as a result, we say it is like a light in a darkened room. Let's go to the imitation of Egypt from the Bahami Gospel and stay on this subject of inventions. The Negro contribution to world civilization has been tremendous. I wanted to bring this subject up for Black History Month. And the brother read it this morning. That lesson should have been sent to the Post-Dispatch to publish. The lesson on the saints, because what it did, it made mention of all of those people who we say is our saints. And there's a history that goes along with it. The Negro contribution to the world civilization has been tremendous. I dwell upon this subject because what a people's history is their most prized possession. The religion of any people is in fact nothing but the history of that people. Let anyone attempt to write the history of the Jews or the Christian nation or any white nation and leave out Constantine, St. Paul, Moses, Richard the Lionhearted, Jesus or St. John and St. Mary's, and you will have no history. Let anyone try to write the history of Egypt, and he can write of nothing but of colored people. But yet still, when we see them on television, we don't see them as colored people. We see them as somebody completely altogether different. And when people see this, they automatically think that this is what it is. This is how our history has been taken away from us, because we didn't step up and use it ourselves. They were neither white, these Egyptians, nor black, but colored. They were the mingled people. They were the mixed multitude. Exodus 12:38. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. the people of Egypt as distinct from the Hebrews. Numbers 11:4. And the mixed multitude complained and asked, who will give us meat to eat? Numbers 11:5. We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, and the cucumber, and the watermelon, and the peas, and the onions, and the garlic. These same things are being applied to us even today. This is one reason why we cannot get our people to get away from that cross. Because they're so situated with the things that, with the watermelon and the garlic and what have you, that was of that day, is being made modern and up to date today. We cannot get away from Jesus. We just cannot leave Jesus. Leave Jesus for someone who is, we say, doesn't even exist. See? The mingled people and the mixed multitude were colored. The original name in Ethiopic and Egyptian is Arab, meaning mixed or colored. Do you think these people consider themselves colored? Do you think that modern day Arab considered himself colored? Does the Greek consider himself colored? At one time, he was colored. The Roman, at one time, he was colored also. But see, that portion of our history has been taken away from us. It's almost like their history started with Greece. After Greece, there was nothing. It was almost like everything dropped off the end of the table. So your ancestral gods and goddesses gave to the world, listen, its first and last civilization and perfection of arts. Among the colored people is where the medicine, music, poetry, and songs. We must remember, everything is of God, Son of God, moon of God, star of God. All people are of God, and also all animals, insects, and etc. Great men of Islam, that's Swakasni. Great men of Islam were Akhenaten, Pharaoh Necho, Atum, Pharaoh Tut, Ramesses, and Enoch, and many others. Famous Islamite women of our race, Andromeda, Cassiope, Cleopatra, Queen of Sheba, Isis, Hathor, Ishar, Neith, Hagar, Ramazan, Bernice, Silmet, Sutna, Fatima, Queen Dido, Nifrati, and hundreds of others. Each can go its own way. What is our solution for racial harmony? The Rasul has given us a guide for our consideration of how we should go about trying to bring these people back together. What does he say? Each people can go his own way and respect one another for peace sake among the races and nations of the world. For neither Africans nor Afro-Americans can be Christians. They can't be that. Mohammedans, they can't be that. Jews, they can't be that. Nor Hindus, except what?
In name only.
In name only. And this is a nominal token that gets us nowhere. But we can be Islamites, champions of the faith of Isis, El, and Amen, Ptah, Ori, and Ra, their ancestral and celestial fare-bearers. On the other hand, if the people desire to be a real brotherhood of man, they will have to lose their identity in legal and real-world amalgamation and miscegnation. We see that that's being done today. We see more and more of our people choosing to go with other people of other races, I say, other races. We know different from that. They think that is the solution. They think that the solution is for us to start mixing and intermixing, which is nothing new. Because we are giving you the lesson here talking about the mingled multitude. This thing has gone on before. Short of these ways, let mankind kid himself no longer. We speak of the word religion or religions. Religion is subject to climate and geography, hot and cold. The average Jew, Christian, Muslim, and Mohammedan are quite unaware of the facts in this book, the Fahami Gospel, the holy book of Ham al-Kim. Artisans had to make dolls, idols, statues, and images in those days, political and economic equality for all. Of course, Africa is ours. Of course. But our interests are worldwide, the same as other men. This is what Fahami is proposing. This is what Fahami is trying to tell you. Our thoughts are just as broad as anybody else's thoughts. This is what we are striving to become. We are trying to teach back to the people what they have forgotten. I'm going to say another word.